Hey everyone, my name is Maya. I am the owner of Microblade Florida. I have been a permanent makeup artist for over 4 years now, specializing in eyebrows. I do some other things. My most recent endeavor is fine line tattooing, which I absolutely love, but eyebrows will forever be my first love. The reason why I fell in love with this career. I love making people feel beautiful and confident, and I currently serve the St. Pete, Tampa, Orlando area and surrounding cities, so Central Florida, West Florida, and I basically want to make these videos to spread some knowledge. This video specifically will be about the different eyebrow techniques. We've probably all heard of microblading by now. There's a few others that we're going to talk about, all of them actually, so hopefully this will make your decision a little bit easier. We will go over how each one looks, kind of what to expect, which one you should choose if you're thinking about booking an appointment, whether it be with me or someone else. And maybe this will even help out some artists out there, just kind of make you a little bit more comfortable in this process. Each technique, of course they all look a little bit different, but depending on your skin type, lifestyle, where you live, your age, all of those things can kind of play a part in making your decision on which technique is best for you. So if you see me looking down, it's because I have some notes on my iPad, because we came prepared today, baby. So let's get started. I know this can be a little bit confusing because these techniques tend to kind of bounce between a couple of names, which I'll go over. So let's start with microblading. Microblading is a semi-permanent eyebrow tattoo, of course, but it is done with a manual tool. I do have a video kind of explaining a microblading appointment and what to expect at that I will link for you. But basically it's done with a manual tool. It has different kind of pin links, blades. It's not a machine. It doesn't have a battery. It is a handheld tool that the artist will make tiny cuts into your eyebrows, into the first layer of skin, with a cosmetic pigment that looks like hair strokes. So I'll insert some photos for examples, but that video does go in depth about microblading specifically. I would say microblading is best for someone who has skin on the drier side. If you think of someone who's more oily and their face, is constantly producing oil, those crispy strokes that are supposed to resemble hair will kind of blur a little bit quicker than on someone who's super dry, because each hair stroke, is done individually and it creates that look of an eyebrow that is actually hair, but it tends to look the best and last the longest on someone who has extremely dry skin. Combo to dry, I would say, is your best bet for microblading. Between the strokes will be your skin color, so we'll go into like combo brows and stuff like that, but you're just gonna get hair strokes with microblading. Of course, a 6 to 8 week touch-up is recommended. Typically, depending on your artist, it's included in that initial price. It might be an upcharge for that service. I always include a touch-up just because I think it's necessary to kind of perfect the brows. Usually one might fade more than the other over your healing process, which is totally normal, but microblading is that hair stroke look, and it looks super natural. It can last anywhere from a year to 2 years, depending on your lifestyle. So all of these techniques depend on your lifestyle too. So if you're someone who works out every day and sweats a lot, or lives in Florida like I do and you're always sweating, or outside or going to the beach, of course that will not last as nicely as long as someone who's always inside, staying dry, stuff like that, if that makes sense. So microblading is a great option to start as well. If you're a little bit hesitant about going to a hybrid brow, combo brow, you can always start with microblading, and you can always add machine shading either at your touch-up for an upcharge, at least with me, or down the road you can add shading to microblading as well. So that's microblading. Just to touch on one more thing with microblading alone, if you're an older client and you want microblading, that is totally fine. I would just make sure you choose an artist who has been doing this for a while and is knowledgeable about different skin types, and just making sure that you choose an artist who knows their pressure. So if you're older, naturally our skin loses elasticity and it gets, it's a little bit, you have to adjust your depth depending on the age of the client, depending on how their skin feels. So just when choosing an artist, if you are a more mature skin client, just make sure you choose the right one, because your skin naturally is just a little bit on the thin side as opposed to someone who's, 19, 20 years old, typically. That's just my opinion. That's just what I've noticed doing this for a while. So that's my recommendation. I tried to sometimes skew older clients to an ombre brow. Of course, if they want microblading, that is totally fine. Your artist just needs to verbalize this with you, and they have to know the skin that they're about to work on with microblading strokes, if you know what I mean. Next technique, ombre powder brows. You'll kind of hear the names interchangeably used, but this looks like this, or could look like this. People are scared of ombre brows. It's kind of like, come on, I know you're scared of the shading. You don't want them to look like super dramatic and boxy and all of that. I get it. But ombre brows look pretty dramatic once, those first couple of days when you're starting to heal. But when they are healed, they will be about 30 to 40% lighter and look kind of like you just filled your eyebrows in with an eyeshadow. An ombre technique is most ideal for someone who is oily or who does like that kind of makeup eyebrow filled in look. There's no microblading strokes. It is all machine work. So typically it'll be done with a single needle or a 3 needle or a 5, depending on your skin. So this is something that your artist should be knowledgeable about when choosing a needle for doing your eyebrows with an ombre technique. But typically someone who is extremely oily, loves to work out, is always going to the beach or in the pool or swimming, or just has a very outdoorsy lifestyle, who, doesn't want their eyebrows to budge at all, but doesn't mind that filled in kind of powdery look, ombre brow would be for you, in my opinion. It does seem to last a little bit longer than microblading on its own. So you're looking about, 1 to 2 years, depending on your lifestyle. This is not a one size fits all technique, right? Getting your eyebrows done. It really depends how well you take care of them, if you're putting SPF on them, if you're putting a ton of hyaluronic acid and retinols and retin-A's on your eyebrows every day, twice a day when you do your skincare routine, they're not gonna stay as nice as someone who doesn't use that stuff on their eyebrows every day, if you know what I mean. So this is definitely a kind of service that you should upkeep and treat, well. If you want them to last and look as good as they can until your annual touch-up. But, that's just my opinion. So ombre brow is kind of for those kind of people who have more oily skin, like that powdery look, and have a very active outdoorsy lifestyle. So that's that on that. Next technique, the beloved hybrid combo eyebrow, right? The most popular and the most booked technique that I've seen personally. It's pretty much ideal for any client, I would say, depending on the look that you like, and like I said, your lifestyle and the type of skin that you have. You could so a combo brow combines microblading and shading. So if you are someone who's extremely oily, but you really want those hair strokes kind of in the fronts to make them look like a little hair strokey and then shading throughout, I personally call that a half hybrid brow. So, you map out the eyebrows, you do those microblading strokes in the front, and then you shade through the middle and through the tail. So you kind of have the best of both worlds there for someone who is more oily or active, outdoorsy, stuff like that. Or there's a full hybrid brow. So the entire brow will be microbladed, and in between those microblading strokes is machine shading. So I think this looks the most natural once it's healed. I tend to use a shade lighter than the stroke shade that I use. So I'll do the entire brow with microblading in one stroke, say it's dark brown, and then I'll mix a pigment that's one shade lighter than that to do shading, just because I think that looks the best and I think it looks the most natural once it's healed. It's the longest lasting result as well. So this could last 1.5 to 3 years, depending on your lifestyle. Once again, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse by saying that, but it's totally true. How you take care of them, kind of your day-to-day activities and stuff like that. So whereas microblading has those hair strokes and your skin color is between the strokes, this is microblading, but between the strokes is shading. So it's a pigment if that makes sense. It kind of gives you a more filled in look. I recommend this for people who have more coarse eyebrow hair. I wouldn't recommend just doing microblading for someone who has super coarse eyebrow hair because those strokes are 2D. And if you have a 3D like coarse eyebrow hair, it just won't look as natural when you kind of combine microblading with coarse eyebrow hair. So typically with my clients who have that coarse hair, I would recommend a hybrid brow just because I think it ends up blending the best and looking the most natural. So we love a hybrid brow technique. It is beautiful. Yeah, so hybrid combo, can't really go wrong. And like I said, you can always book with your artist and be like, can I just have microblading strokes in the fronts and shading throughout the rest? Or if you want a full hybrid brow, you get the best of both of those worlds. The last technique that I am going to talk about is the technique that has been blowing up all over the place, and it is called nano brows. So nano eyebrows resembles the look of microblading, but it is done with a machine. So there's no cutting involved like microblading, how you kind of have to cut into that first layer of skin, the epidermis, to make sure that the microblading lasts. This is done with the same machine that you would use to shade in your brows for like an ombre brow technique, but instead of like doing a flicking motion to kind of fill those brows in with the machine, you're using a single needle and you are creating those hair strokes with the machine. So no cutting into the skin, but still having those hair strokes. I currently don't offer nano brows myself. I do plan on training and becoming more knowledgeable in that technique in the future, but it's blowing up right now. I think it's totally up to you for your preference. This would be better for an oily client who doesn't want to do microblading. I would really recommend to you doing your knowledge on who is going to be doing your nano brows, because you want them to be done correctly and you want to be sure to go to someone who has been doing them for, you know, a decent amount of time, given that, you know, it's not someone who's, an artist shouldn't be charging you a ton of money if they're brand new at a service, in my opinion. You want that artist to have time to see healed results, and that only comes with time. So if someone's brand new at doing any sort of these techniques, you want to make sure that they have enough clients under their belt, you know, 6 weeks later when that client comes back for their touch-up, you see how their eyebrows healed and you can kind of adjust your pressure, adjust your pigment choice, all of that stuff kind of plays a part into all of these techniques. But ombre is like microblading but with a machine, and it's personal preference to the client whether you want shading also between those strokes too. So that's kind of up to you. These techniques all just kind of depend on the look that you like and your lifestyle. Like I said, I think getting your brows done is absolutely life-changing, and I'm not just saying that because I do this for a living, but when I got my brows done 5 years ago, I was like, why the heck didn't I do this sooner? You wake up with even eyebrows. You don't have to worry about your eyebrows sweating off in this heat, or when you take a shower, you still have eyebrows. You wake up and have eyebrows. It really is such an amazing investment, and I recommend it to everybody in my life. So I hope this answered some questions as far as kind of what to book when you are going to book your eyebrow appointment. I plan on making these videos. If you have any sort of suggestions on what you want to know, whether you're an artist or a potential artist, a client who is kind of on the fence, if you have any questions at all, please reach out to me. I am always willing to help answer questions at Microbladed Florida on Instagram. I would love to talk to you and connect. So I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.